There we go. No, I'm not watching the fight with that vegan guy. I'll just see what the outcome is. Why do I keep getting recommended Mike Isertel videos? I fucking hate him.
Мы за мир и свободу. Мы за соглашение о прекращении огня, за жизнь без страха, ради сохранения жизни людей, ради будущего.
Раз никто на Донбассе из вас не был, не видел ни черта. Вы там что-то рассказываете, басни всякие по поводу того, что прекращение огня. Вообще понимаете, что вы несете?
А тем более я вытащил то, что мы хотели, потому что реальный выбор на выборах либо Единая Россия, либо Яблоко. Наш номер 2.
О!
Теперь мы знаем, что у граждан нашей страны есть возможность проголосовать за мир и свободу, за жизнь людей.
Я предлагаю все-таки вам, найдите возможность, станьте на патриотической позиции или не участвуйте в выборах. Будьте честны. Вас проклянет, понимаете,
Сережа,
весь
выступили.
народ.
Они иноагенты. Они поддерживают всех иноагентов.
Nah, never got into Kingdom Hearts. I heard it's just super grindy.
Они вредители. Они предатели нашей Родины. Предатели должны отвечать за свои действия. Яблоко партия. Это партия предателей.
Things are becoming pretty shaky for Vladimir Putin ahead of the next Russian election. In September 2026, Russia is going to be conducting its new parliamentary election to the so-called State Duma. And I know what you guys are going to say, yes, we do still have elections. And even though elections in Russia usually turn into a complete farce full of voter frauds, where all the candidates are just puppets of Vladimir Putin that are pretending to actually be against him, this time around something is actually very different. Because the big opposition party that is actually outspoken against the war in Ukraine is also trying to run for the Russian parliament. And this one and only party that actually wants the Ukraine war to stop is currently gaining insane popularity. And apparently the Russian government is so scared that they're now trying to take him off the ballots and ban them from running. And if this party actually gets banned from running in the election, Russia just might lose its last chance to become a normal country. So hey there people, it is your boy Roman, your favorite neighborhood Russian, and welcome to a brand new video in which we're gonna talk about the upcoming election to the Russian State Duma and the anti-war party Yabloko. And also react to just how much of a joke Russian democracy really is. By the way,
Dodo, let me see.
Benjamin Netanyahu is a war criminal, the architect of...
We've already seen this. Thanks, Dodo. That's a 3-week-old video we already reacted to.
this channel is fully independent. A lot of sponsors do not really like what I do because they consider my channel to be too controversial because I talk about a lot of heavy stuff. And also YouTube can be a mess sometimes. A lot of my videos get demonetized for no reason. So if you guys like what I do on this channel, if you want to support me financially, go over to the link down the... And if you know a thing or two about elections in Russia, you know that they're usually pretty much a joke. The voter fraud is usually insane. The elections are always absolutely blowing up on social media, and out of nowhere has pretty much become the most popular party that is about to take part in this election. First of all, Russians started uploading these like vague kind of videos supporting Yabloko on social media. For example, in this one, a Russian lady on TikTok is answering the question of who she's gonna vote for, and she's not saying anything. She's just simply eating an apple, which once again is what Yabloko, the name of the party, translates to. People started uploading videos like this as well, for example, saying who are you gonna vote for in this election, and you know, she's showing an Apple computer. Get it, guys? You know, Apple, Yabloko. Again, she has a Yabloko that she's eating, the apple. Another one right here, POV, I want an apple in 2015, just a regular apple. When you want an apple in 2020, you want, you know, an iPad, and then, from 2022, it's the political party Yabloko Apple. So this is just the level of free speech in Russia at this point, where people are scared to even say that they're going to be supporting this party. But it's actually kind of genius, right? And this actually became a massive trend. Like Zoomers and so on, you know, young people from all over Russia started recording these videos to the song of the Ukrainian artist Yolka, which is called Yabloko. The song is about an apple, and once again, that's the name of the party. And it went super viral, and it became kind of like a way for people to express once again their support for this party, support for stopping the war essentially, right, and speaking out against Putin, but they're simply just dancing and lip-syncing to an innocent song about an apple, right?
Авторы роликов чаще всего молодые люди, у которых
The deputy chairman of Yabloko has been recently convicted for discrediting the Russian armed forces and sentenced to 7 years of prison. Or for example, another member of the party here, another deputy chairman of Yabloko, Lev Schwarzberg. This guy at this point has 3 criminal cases against himself and is also facing up to 10 years in prison. He's currently under arrest, and at this point dozens of members of Yabloko have been convicted and sent to prison for speaking out against the war. And even before this new inside wave of popularity, Yabloko has already been getting restricted in regards to this upcoming election. There's actually going to be 2 elections. There's going to be an election to the federal parliament, the state Duma, and also there are going to be actual local elections to local parliaments of Russia too. And Yabloko is basically not being allowed to run in a lot of local areas. For example, in St. Petersburg, Yabloko has been kicked out and they cannot run there. They've also been banned from running in several other regions, and the chairman of the party, Nikolai Rybakov, has also been accused of demonstrating extremist material because he showed a picture of Alexei Navalny somewhere in like an internet post, and now he's not allowed to run either to be an actual member of parliament. But now after Yabloko suddenly blew up in popularity, it's actually getting even worse, and at this point Russia is just trying to completely ban them from even taking part in a state Duma election. And they're essentially doing through these fake opposition parties, because recently the nationalist party Rodina, which means motherland, has sued to disqualify Yabloko from the state Duma election. And the rest of the fake opposition parties in Russia and their leaders have also all agreed to attack Yabloko and try their hardest to stop them from running.
С некоторыми политическими партиями мы бы предпочли.
And actually, apparently, hundreds of Russians have gathered outside the Supreme Court to support Yabloko, and it's like apparently like 500 people came. It started out as pretty peaceful and civil and so on, but it actually kind of evolved into a bit of a protest. So yeah, videos came out of people chanting the party's name in support. Also, pretty sizable crowd gathered to actually greet Nikolai Rybakov, the chairman of the party, and, you know, basically tell them that, you know, is actually beyond ridiculous. First of all, Yabloko was accused of propaganda of LGBT, which is banned in Russia. They were also accused of being foreign agents and receiving foreign funding, but most importantly, of breaking copyright law and the law of intellectual property. For example, the Z Party Rodina is claiming that Yabloko has used phrases like, "at least there is no war," which apparently comes from some kind of play, without asking the permission of the original copyright holder. They're also claiming that Yabloko broke the copyright of the Russian movie studio Mosfilm for using like a small scene from a movie from 1967 in their promotional material. They're also claiming that one of the images used on the website of the party breaks the copyright law of the Russian news agency Kommersant, and a photo reports of that media. And this one right here is the funniest. The members of the Motherland Party paid attention that Yabloko has generated some images on their website using ChatGPT, even though according to the position of OpenAI, the usage of ChatGPT is banned on the territory of Russia. The creation of this image has been conducted in the breach of the terms of service of ChatGPT, which have been installed by its creators, which means that...
So...
Never mind, I got some stuff for you, VG. Here, and here.
Alright, I'll take a look, Dodo, thank you. So they're just trying to come up with whatever bullshit they can. That's fucking crazy.
I don't know if it gets more delusional than this story of a trans man from Germany who has converted to Islam and changes his name to Fatima and is now in Dubai seeking a rich Arab boyfriend. Oh my lord. God save us all.
Architektur an, die jetzt immer besser zum Vorschein kommt, weil die Sonne einfach nur noch anders wirkt und nicht mehr so viel Sonne von oben.
Obviously, I have no idea what he's saying, or babe, it's just not going to work. But we do need to talk about why this phenomena is happening. Can anyone help me understand this? Because I genuinely don't get it. LGBT people are imprisoned, tortured, and killed in these Islamist countries. So how come they are the biggest supporters of these Islamist countries? And Larry Sanger responds with this, and I thought we should read it out. First, woke progressives, intersectional activists constantly thirst for confirmation of their moral superiority, which they typically get by defending whoever they're told is victimized, and by signaling their superiority both to the victimizers and to all those who do not signal hard enough. Virtue signaling is socially powerful in the story, then we feel better in the story. That's kind of boring, but who is the loudest voice for the biggest victim, right? Trans people, anybody who could.
This woman's very annoying and talks about bland bullshit.
The The modern BLM movement, and more broadly, wokeness, is a reversal of the civil rights movement of the 1950s, 60s, and 70s, where black people said, we want to be seen as equal. We want to swim in the same pool, go to the same high schools, use the same bathrooms kind of thing, have the same voting rights as everybody else in America. And everyone was on board with that, right? All men are created equal. That's a Christian concept. We're all equal and equally judged before God. God won't be seeing skin color. He'll be seeing our souls. It's nice to have a society that's sort of built like that on Christian principles again. And this happens every couple of days. I see in my timeline a all black graduation. School. This is just like schools, pools, right? Bathrooms. Here we go. Berlin hosts pool for blacks only. Oh no. Oh no. Temporary swimming pool.
And retarded.
Paid for with public money and installed outside of Berlin's leading state-subsidized theater has been set aside for blacks only, restricting access solely based on race. The facility is free.
So fucking boring.
The World War II memorial in Washington, D.C. was vandalized. And then hours later, they found the woman who did it because she filmed herself doing this. Shameless.
They've seen the video obtained by Fox 5 or made any arrest. The courthouse. Why?
That we were the ones who ended.
I have not stopped laughing. I mean, prepare yourself. It's about to get spicy.
Theo's like, he's such a sweet boy. Anyone knows dogs. Like, he's a classic lab. He loves everyone, wants to play with everyone, but I won't let him play with pits. Because the thing is, pit bulls are like Muslims. Owners in this room.
I've already seen that clip. Thanks, Dodo. Solomon mentions you in his new videos. Condom link tier T. I wonder how his Noble Natty Nuthugger fans will react 513 onwards.
In my life. Not because I think illegal drugs are inherent. Long time. To go on TRT or not to go on TRT? That is the question. For the unfamiliar, TRT stands for testosterone replacement therapy, and it's basically medically prescribed steroids for hypogonadal people to bring their testosterone back up to healthy levels. I'm undoubtedly hypogonadal right now, owing to my leanness, so if I got the right, or arguably wrong, doctor, then I might qualify for a TRT prescription. Getting extremely lean is almost like a loophole to getting a
Unk. This one for the Reals ones, twin. If you know, you know. Thanks.
Sure, we can do that. Thank you.
Real friend.
Real friends, how many of us? How many of us? How many jealous real friends? It's not many of us. We smile at each other. But how many honest? Rusty shoes switched up the number. Can't be bothered. Cannot blame you for having an angle. Ain't got no issues. I'm just doing my thing. Hope you're doing your thing. So I'm a deadbeat cousin. Hate my family reunions. Love in church up, but drinking at the communion. Spilling free wine, now my tux is ruined. In town for a day, what the fuck are we doing? Be your real friends, we all came from the bottom, always blaming you, but what's sad is not the problem. Damn, I forgot to call her. Shit, I thought it was Thursday. When was the last time I remembered her birthday? When was the last time I wasn't in a hurry? Told me you wanted tickets when it's game time, even to call your daughter on her FaceTime. Even when we was young, I used to make time. Now we would be way too busy just to make time even for my real friends, I guess. I don't. Word on the street is they haven't heard from him. I guess I get what I deserve. And I talk down my name thrown here on him. Couldn't tell you how old your daughter was. Couldn't tell you how old your son was. Got my own junior on the way, dog. Plus, I already got one kid. Can tell you how much the fam thought I showed up for that Ian's though. Maybe 15 minutes, took some pictures of your sister near Christmas, then finished, then it's back to business. Then ask some questions about some real shit. Like I ain't got enough pressure to deal with. Please don't pressure me with that bullshit, cause everybody got them. That ain't children. They ain't nothing but a friend to me. Niggas thinking crazy to defend me, it's funny, I ain't spoke to niggas in centuries. To be honest, dog, I ain't feeling your energy. They turn your kin into an enemy, niggas ain't real as they pretend to be. Looking for all my real friends, how many of us are real friends? To real friends, till the real end, till the wheels fall off, till the wheels don't spin. 2, 3 a.m. calling how many real friends? Just ask you a question to see how you was feeling, how many. For the last, he was crying. Hey, let me make a text you like, what's up, fam? Hope you're good. You sound good. I'm great. Next. What's best for your family? Either extended, any argument, and you know, I had a cousin that stole my laptop that I was fucking bitches on, paid that nigga $250,000 just to get it from them real friends on. Real friends, I get what I deserve. Word on the street is they ain't heard from him, I guess I get what I deserve. Yeah, that's enough. Thanks, dude. Kid Boo.
What do you know about women?
A woman will make you angry, then she becomes angry.
How can these black people hosting these black-only things not see how racist they are and yet call everyone else who disagrees racist?
Because they're dumb. Thanks for the donation, Dodo.
Choosing Pizza Hut, sorry. Thank you for choosing Pizza Hut. Sorry for the inconvenience, but we were underprepared for today and we've run out of all of our dough. What?
Hey, great. She's exercising. Thanks, dude.
A TRT prescription. And if you want a good picture of how contest prep is messing with my head, then look no further than the
I have been watching you since I was 16 years old, and sometimes it is cool to think how much you have grown in terms of build. Legit question though, did you do therapy, and if you did, what type?
No, I didn't do therapy. Yeah, one time when I had depression, there's some dumb talk therapy thing that my doctor said I might want to go to, and I did one session. It was just fucking stupid. The lady just wanted me to blab about shit, and I didn't fucking care, and yeah, it just didn't do anything, so I didn't really do therapy. Thanks, though, saggy balls don't itch.
Anecdote I'm about to share. Recently, I have, in my darkest hour, dreamed about going on testosterone replacement therapy. I mean, I quite literally had a dream about getting a prescription. It was 2 nights ago, in fact. I had a dream in which I told my girlfriend that I got a TRT prescription. And in my dream, she...
Lol, VG would rather talk to AI. Where the fuck did you get the idea that I'd talk to AI?
She was overjoyed by the news. So the very next morning, I told her about my dream and my desire to get a TRT prescription. And she, being in med school, basically thought I was insane, and promptly enumerated all of the many costs
You
of a
know,
lifelong
I
drug
can't believe I'm saying this, but I honestly think that some black people these days are more racist than white people.
Yeah, they are. Thanks, Dodo.
dependency. Because once you...
Testosterone doses in a TRT range cost nothing. If you can afford toothpaste, you can afford TRT. It's not a substantive cost.
you go on, it can be very hard to go off. Her actual reaction was the exact opposite of how she reacted in my dream. Now, I'd wager that pretty much anyone who takes lifting seriously has at least considered going on anabolics at some point. I mean, I certainly have.
If you don't want to talk to a therapist, that's a logical conclusion. No.
But I haven't felt the pull in a long time the way I have recently. I worry that owing to the contest prep, I'm basically not in my right mind at the moment. And although I know that my endocrine system will reboot and everything will be fine some months after my competitions once I regain some body fat, I'm still having thoughts like, would it really be so bad if I were to use just a replacement dose to put me at the high normal level of the physiological range? Wouldn't it be nice to look a little less like the Apollo Belvedere and a
I don't know why you'd do that. Just go super physiological. Like, if you're into fitness and you want to get jacked, like, what's the point?
little more like the Farnese Hercules? Wouldn't it be nice to maintain a lower body fat percentage without the endocrine issues?
Yeah. Like, it is. So why wouldn't you do it?
Wouldn't it be nice to have a little more muscle, a little more fullness, lift a little heavier? Wouldn't it be nice to eat a little bit more? But alas, there are so many negatives. Some of the negatives I don't care about. For instance, the whole issue of being dependent on the drug for normal functioning and having to pin every week doesn't really bother me. I mean, I'm very disciplined when it comes to taking pills and medications. I don't miss days, I don't screw up timings. I mean, that should hardly be surprising since I'm a natural, soon-to-be competitive bodybuilder who maintains a strict workout routine and hasn't eaten an untracked meal in years, and in fact takes his food scale to restaurants, etc. So what are my actual reservations? Well, let's go from smallest to biggest. The smallest cost would be the literal financial cost. That'd be annoying. And the health side of things I'm also unsure about.
When I was on 200 milligrams a week, that cost about $20 a month. It's nothing.
Now, obviously, abusing steroids, that is, taking them in amounts that put you like above the physiological range, is very unhealthy. And maintain.
Nope. It is common for people on TRT to require to go on super physiological doses. So some of that has to do with dysfunction of the androgen receptor itself. So it's pretty clear there's environmental reasons for why men's testosterone levels are declining, and they're declining very rapidly lately. It's not explained by obesity and lifestyle changes. They controlled for that. The only explanation is environmental, and some of these endocrine disrupting pollutants we're exposed to. Not only do they have a direct effect on testosterone production by like damaging the testicles or your pituitary gland, but they also have an effect on the androgen receptor itself. So because the androgen receptor is dysfunctional, you need higher levels of androgens to actually get the effect you want from TRT. On top of that, there's also genetic variability. There's these things called CAG repeats. They affect how androgens work in your body. Some people have longer CAG repeats, and because of that, they need higher doses. And again, even in very high doses of testosterone, 500 milligrams a week, which is basically what I'm on. I'm on 525. You do not see negative lipid changes. Testosterone actually lowers ApoB. It also boosts nitric oxide production, opens up the blood vessel walls. It raises estrogen, which has beneficial effects on arterial health. Generally speaking, you don't see increases in blood pressure on those doses. And the hematocrit thing is just a fucking meme. Having elevated hematocrit is not a problem. For whatever reason, arbitrarily, you'll see a lot of labs have a cutoff of 50 or 52 for hematocrit. Some go up to 54, but there's no reason to think elevated hematocrit is a health issue. Does not increase blood clotting risk of heart attack, thrombosis, none of that. It's just a myth. The idea was people who have primary polycythemia, so polycythemia vera, which is basically a bone marrow dysfunction, they have increased clotting risk. Normal people that do not have polycythemia vera and they only have secondary polycythemia from high altitude or using steroids, they don't have higher clotting risk. There's actually communities of people who have an average hematocrit near 70, and they do not have higher clotting risk. So, yeah, high doses of testosterone, not dangerous. There's pretty much no drawback. Let me see this. Skip Dodo's donation.
And speaking of racism, behold the new Charlie Kirk, only not a bigot that I know of and a Brit, and.
Let me see.
You said millions should go, but...
Must go.
Yeah, must go, so... What
No,
if...
Moscow.
No, must go.
No, not Moscow. Must go.
Oh, but basically, what if people have come here to, like, get safe, get shelter, and come for war?
What wars are they coming from?
Like Israel...
They're not coming from any wars. There's no Palestinian refugees, and all these people claiming asylum are just liars.
Palestine, Ukraine, Russia...
Historically, the principle is if there's a conflict, you should go to the nearest safe country. We are not the nearest safe country, therefore they should go to somewhere like Egypt, rather than coming to Calais in France and then illegally
There's no Palestinian refugees. No country's letting them in.
coming to us.
Yeah, but is our country not the one where they can get the most opportunities to improve their life?
But do you
who the fuck cares?
think that's necessarily okay when, you know, people who are English or British, you could say, are not getting opportunities themselves and are having to pay?
I just wanted to know your views on England's foreign policy.
On what, sorry?
Like the British or England's foreign policy?
Well, that's a big question, so I'll do my best to, it's a very broad question.
My stance is like, it's rich to complain about immigration when you want to invade other countries and bomb them and then complain when there's refugees and they come here.
So give me an example of that. Are you talking about like a modern day
The
example?
Iraq War.
I agree.
Prime example.
Totally agree with you.
Shake your hand.
Yeah, I don't believe we should be involved in any foreign conflict. No, he's not talking. But no, I honestly...
But technically we're all immigrants, aren't we? With Germanic roots or Scandinavian roots or Asian roots or whatever we are. You know?
No.
Sorry, when you mean by demographically replaced, what do you mean by that? Because I promise you, wait.
It's a great question.
15% of the whole UK population is black, 6% of Muslims, there's only 6% of Muslims in the UK. There's over 70 million people.
Yeah,
bear in mind, everyone else...
Okay, thanks, Dodo. Kid Boo. She got ass. This is gonna be great. Okay, thanks, Kid Boo.
Me and wife finally adopted a precious kitty. He is 1 year old and immediately made himself comfortable in our apartment. His name is Eugene. Also he likes the Benevo.
That is an MP4 file. I don't know why you couldn't just upload that to YouTube. Wow. That is a kitty. Oh my god, he's figuring out how the toy works. That's good. That's really good. That's good that he likes the bonobo. Thanks, Non-Web. Enjoy your kitty. Treat him nice.
Maintaining good health is a high priority for me. But just taking enough to be high normal? I don't know. I don't think the literature is super conclusive. But I've heard that TRT can cause cardiovascular strain and stimulate the growth of the prostate.
It does not cause cardiovascular strain. It's beneficial for the cardiovascular system. It is not associated with benign prostatic hyperplasia, and it protects against prostate cancer.
Neither of which interests me. The risk of infertility is another big one. I mean, I want little Solomons running around one day, and I've heard that
the risk of infertility on TRT is practically zero. While you're on it, you're very likely going to be infertile, but you can just use HCG, either in conjunction with TRT to regain fertility, or come off TRT and use HCG monotherapy. So the risk is practically zero. Or you could just come off temporarily. That also restores fertility.
That TRT can compromise fertility, which would be horrible. And there's also the issue of the slippery slope. We bodybuilders are often an illogical bunch who don't just stop at a certain point. We want more size, more fullness, more leanness, more vascularity. So why would I stop at just TRT? Well, I have at least one safeguard in mind, which is that I have absolutely no interest in getting on anabolics through black market channels. I know that's possible, but it's just a line that I never want to cross. As a matter of fact, I've never actually taken an illicit drug in my life. Not because I think illegal drugs are inherently bad, but because I have no interest in breaking the law.
The law is fucking stupid. If you can buy cigarettes and alcohol, damage every organ system in your body, make yourself fat, sick, and stupid, then why are things like steroids illegal? Making yourself fat, sick, and stupid, taking something that we know for a fact is literal poison and will send you to an early grave, that's illegal, but if you want to get big and strong, that's illegal. I don't know why anybody gives a shit if it's legal or not. The law is just fucking dumb. Rules are for fools, and why would you want to be a fool following a fucking stupid law that makes no fucking sense? It's just mind-blowingly retarded to me that people have any kind of concern for the law when it's like that dumb.
You clicked my link, and now I am inside your house. I'm about to beat ass. Don't turn around.
Thank you, Non-Web. Appreciate that.
After doing extensive research on exogenous testosterone use and being well above 1000 nanograms/dl, we have been completely psyoped. It has no significant impact on mortality, and other commonly prescribed meds are far more detrimental.
Oh, yep. Big example of that would be antidepressant meds and benzodiazepines. Benzos are one of the most dangerous medications you can get prescribed, and again, they'll hand those out like fucking candy. Oh, you feel sad, anxious, depressed, here you go. And then when you try to come off them, you like nearly die or want to kill yourself. Oh, you want to be big and strong? Sorry, no, that's dangerous, being in physically good health. It's just retarded. Out of this world fucking retarded. I see in the future like I see a future where testosterone and probably other anabolic drugs are taken off the Schedule 3 list. I think eventually it's just going to be non-prescription, honestly. There's like the black market is just so fucking vast and they can't do anything about it. More people are using than ever. Like it's kind of like the weed thing. So many people ended up fucking using it and there's such a demand for it. It just became legal in a lot of places, like all across Canada. A lot of states have legalized it too. So yeah, it's just fucking dumb. Like again, if cigarettes and alcohol are okay, then why is it such a bad thing to get big and strong? It's just fucking dumb. Thanks, Gold Injector.
Draw VG trying to breed Gigliardo. Missionary position and Gig has his legs in the air to increase the chances of VG's seed taking hold.
Dude, I'm so fucking tired after that workout. You have no fucking idea. I just want to collapse. Vigorous Steve claims DHT is more anabolic than Masteron. It's not. DHT literally gets broken down by the 3-HSD enzyme. It's not anabolic at all. Well, it is. You just need mammoth, super high doses of it. So, yeah, you can get a good anabolic effect from DHT if you take ridiculously high doses of it, because you just end up overwhelming that enzyme. But if you have to take a higher, like, milligram quantity, then how's it more anabolic? It doesn't make any fucking sense. Surely he isn't trying to drive up his DHT affiliate. Does he have a DHT affiliate?
What's up, my dude? One and a half grams testosterone per week. Thoughts on adding 300 grams Masteron? Yeah, that's cute. At this point, I would rather add in the DHT. I think Masteron is going to be a thing of the past. I think a lot of people are going to switch to DHT. All the people that I talked to that tried DHT said it's more anabolic than mask, better cosmetic appearance than mask, less dry and aging and weathered looking.
There's probably more health benefits to taking DHT over Masteron. I think the people who are claiming they get a dry age look from taking Masteron, it's just from dieting, honestly. Everyone takes Mast when they're on a crazy diet, so they just wrongfully attribute the aged look to Masteron. I haven't found Masteron dries me out. Like, I still haven't taken a very high dose of it. I've only gone up to 200 milligrams, but I found Mast gives me, like, a volumizing effect. It just makes my muscles, like, rounder and pop more.
And it's bioidentical, so you actually I felt good on that shit, man. I had a good mood. I think
I have a good mood on Mast.
I
have a good mood on everything,
DHT,
though. Like, even
and Ment. I think that's going to be a great stack. And they've all been...
Ment is fucking stupid. Ment doesn't do shit. Like, that's just fucking brain dead.
Studied in the context of humans, TRT-wise, and well documented, you know, like even Ment. Primo, after 2 weeks, I'm already irritable, as you can tell from how I'm answering these questions.
Yeah, I think that's just silly. Steve has a lot of weird and dumb takes. Kyle.
What about Ares Targaryen?
I'm not watching that. Thanks, dude. Don't give a shit about Game of Thrones clips or movie clips.
You should check out this guy's channel, it's full of debates and brats getting owned. It's gold.
I don't care. Watching somebody debate retards isn't entertaining. Okay, he debates dumb people, great. And they say dumb things, who cares? Thanks, Dodo.
You ever been scammed on gear? Just got earlier today $110. Yikes, but surprisingly it actually lead to me finding a legit source. Couldn't be mad.
No, never got scammed buying black market gear. Thanks for the donation though, John. What's this dumb fucking drawing? Missionary position. God damn it. There you go. Thank you for the donation, Gig.
So I think the slippery slope is less of an issue with me, but even if I were to go on TRT, the underlying psychological demons telling me to gain more size and so on wouldn't go away. On this very matter, I watched with great interest the process of my friend Richard Burgess, better known as Vegan Gains, going on steroids. For all the misguided hate that he got in those earlier years for supposedly being scrawny, I think he had a remarkably good natural physique. And when he got on steroids, I was curious to see if he'd stop at just testosterone replacement and peptides, since that's effectively what he started with. But he didn't. Now he's taking really, really potent anabolics in abusive...
Yeah, I had no intention of only staying on testosterone
doses. God.
And I don't know what he constitutes abusive doses. Like, assuming I don't have any organ damage, I don't have heart issues, I don't like age faster, I live to like a normal life expectancy, which like right now is like 85. I don't know what would constitute, like what his definition of abusive dose would be. Like at the end of the day, I'm getting what I want out of the drugs. So if you're getting what you want, I don't understand how it's abusive. Like, there's a certain amount of exercise that's bad for you, by the way. Especially with cardiovascular training, there's it has been found there's a U-shaped curve with mortality, where if you do extreme amounts of cardiovascular exercise, you do have increased risk of death. There's some emerging evidence that might also be the case with weight training. If you have ambitions to be a very good athlete, and you are willing to take that trade-off where the extreme amounts of exercise end up having a detrimental effect on your health, like, are you abusing exercise, or are you just doing something you enjoy and accepting the trade-offs? Like, when you talk about abusive doses or like abuse in general, it's just a weird term. There are plenty of people who have jobs that are high risk, like oil drillers, like working on an oil rig. Military, special forces, firefighters, police. In professional sports, you're taking a lot of risks, especially combat sports, motorsports. People get seriously injured and die all the fucking time. Are they, would you say they're abusing themselves by doing that? Like, they're just doing what they want to fucking do and getting what they want out of it. Like, that's all there is to it. Like, at the end of the day, we're all gonna fucking die anyway. So if we're all gonna die anyway, like the goal should be to get what you want out of life, right? Like, it's just a weird concept. Like, do you want to get something out of life, or do you just want to live long for some reason? Like, it's a weird idea that he's kind of sharing here. Kyle.
Just a reminder that the sloth bear is responsible for more humans going to the pearly gates than any other bear. First off, they have 3-inch razor-sharp claws, which are the largest claws of any bear compared to its size. They also have these monster canine teeth, which are just ridiculous. But the main reason is because they're found in the forests of southern Asia, which just so happens to be an extremely predator-dense area. We're talking tigers, leopards, crocodiles, jackals, wild dogs, other bears. So for them, conflict is not rare, and it's forced them to evolve into an extremely aggressive species. It doesn't matter who you are or what you are. It's on sight. It's basically Asia's version of the honey badger.
Interesting. Thank you, Kyle.
Bless him. I was curious about his case in particular because I consider him a smart guy whom, rightly or wrongly, I expected to be rational in this domain. But I can't really see a good reason for why he's taking as much as he currently is. And I would...
To get jacked. So again, I have ambitions of trying to get an IFBB Pro card. Like, what do you expect me to do? There's certain doses that you're going to have to hit in order to grow enough to do that. So again, it's kind of like saying, I don't know why this person is driving their race car so fast around the track. It's dangerous. They could like hit a wall and kill themselves. Well, yeah, that's what racing is. Like, you have to take the risk in order to win. So, like, it's like he doesn't have any kind of understanding of some sort of goal-oriented mindset where, yeah, you're going to assume some level of risk for some reward that you want. Like that's literally what life is. It's just a risk-reward calculation, and the calculation I've made is the risk is relatively small, and the reward is relatively large, given my particular interests. It's that simple. I don't understand how that's hard to understand.
Wouldn't want the same.
Like by the way, if I were doing martial arts and I wanted to get into the UFC, like, you're gonna get brain damage. You're gonna get hit in the fucking head. Like, would he say the same thing for anybody who's in some sort of dangerous contact sport? I have no idea why he's fighting for money to get, like, you know, a heavyweight title belt. Like, because you want to win at the sport. Like, it's just strange.
same happening to me, where like I begin with a replacement dose of testosterone, which is arguably rational, but then rapidly devolve psychologically and start taking more and more.
I don't know why he's framing things like this. I never had any intention of only staying on testosterone and on some kind of replacement dose. So he's framing it as if, oh, I had only intended to take a little bit of testosterone, which would be like a replacement dose or TRT or something. And then like I devolved, I developed some like dangerous psychological complex. And I started taking more and more and different drugs. Like, no, I had no intention of only staying on test, and I never went on TRT. I started with testosterone, because you have to start with testosterone, basically.
I never know that Baloo from the Jungle Book was so deadly.
Yeah, thanks, Dodo. Yeah, so I just started with a small dose of testosterone because that's just the most rational way to start a cycle. But the way he's framing things is totally, like, not aligned with any of my intent.
And more, or at least wanting to. One other thing I don't want to risk is the possibility that I'll just look straight up worse, objectively. You know, one of the most alluring...
You can't look worse objectively. Physical or aesthetic appeal is subjective in nature. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. There's no way you can look objectively worse.
Things about getting on TRT, of course, is the prospect of being leaner and more muscular. But how lean and muscular you are isn't the whole aesthetic picture. What if my upper body happens to be vastly more androgen receptive than my lower body, and I
train your lower body more?
I develop a really disproportionate, unbalanced...
Yeah, train your lower body more and your upper body less.
Physique with...
Like, by the way, this is something that happens to naturals, too. Some people are more upper body dominant, some people are more lower body dominant. That's the case for natural athletes. Some people have trouble growing their arms. That's a very common problem. I think your arms, biceps and triceps, are one of the most genetically determined muscle groups for size, where no matter what, their arms just won't grow, even with steroids, but the rest of their body grows. This is just a normal thing, so like it's a bizarre concern to have.
With big shoulders and no legs. What if I just end up only a fraction leaner and more muscular than I'd otherwise be as a natural, but now I'm all red, pimply, excessively vascular, watery, and with a receding hairline and gynecomastia to boot? Now, obviously these are...
The likelihood of that happening, if you actually know how to take these drugs, is extremely small, especially if you don't have a history of susceptibility to acne. And especially if you're already fit and lean. You pretty much never see fit, lean people have water retention issues when they go on testosterone. It's only really fat, unhealthy people who eat like bags of potato chips every day. Again, like some people over aromatize and stuff like that. There are some people who just have weird genes, but you can control for that. There's aromatase inhibitors. There's drugs that inhibit aromatase action, like boldenone. So it's just a skill issue.
Let's all be honest. The two reasons people don't do gear is because balls evaporate and hairline recedes more rapidly. I always told myself if I balded I'd go off the deep end with gear. Nothing else to lose.
That's nice. Thanks, bro.
Appearance-related side effects of the sort I describe are traditionally associated with supraphysiological abusive doses. But I hear that drug responses...
Why is a supraphysiological dose by definition abusive? How is he defining abuse?
Can be very individual. And the question is the juice really worth the squeeze? I know that when I'm in my right mind, I'm already very happy with my physique as is. And I can earnestly say that I'm very proud of what I've achieved.
I think this guy is inherently non-competitive. his complete and utter lack of understanding for why I'd go on higher doses, like, I think just illustrates that. Like, why would you want to be bigger and stronger than everybody else? That doesn't make any sense to me. It's like, because I'm competitive and I literally want to compete in like bodybuilding. Like, I'll probably also end up doing non-drug tested martial arts too. Like, I'll probably start doing jiu-jitsu at some point. It's like again, I'm just an inherently competitive person. This guy just seems to be non-competitive. Like, no offense to Solomon, he does have a good physique for a natural. I'm not gonna dog on him, but it's like you're a lot smaller and weaker than a lot of people, and like it's just, you know, if you're actually competitive and interested in this fitness stuff, you'd think you'd be motivated to take steroids, at least to a greater extent than he is. But like, it's just weird. I want to build as much muscle that I can, but I don't. I'm perfectly content with how I look. It's just strange.
As a lifetime natural. So to risk jeopardizing that for a little bit more muscle, or to be able to maintain a very lean physique without endocrine issues, it just doesn't make much logical sense. However, my biggest issue by far in going on TRT, which evidently doesn't matter at all to some people, but matters a great deal to me, would be losing my natty card, so to speak. Why does this matter to me? Why?
No one actually cares about being natural. And I can prove it. If if Captain America's super soldier serum was real, so Captain America took steroids. It's just like an advanced form of steroids that we don't have the technology to duplicate. Like, right now, it's just in the fantasy realm. But he is a superhero that got his superpower from steroids. The super soldier serum he took not only gave him super strength and super physicality, like he can do an all-out sprint like indefinitely, you know, stuff like that. It also made him immortal, basically immediately heal from all wounds, and he's immune to all sickness and disease. So if there was a steroid that did that, you wouldn't want to take it because you'd lose your natty card? Even assuming the super soldier serum didn't make you live forever and made you immune from disease, like, let's just cut that. It only gave you super strength and super physicality, and it had no impact on your health whatsoever. You wouldn't take it? Like, why? Like, because, well, I wouldn't be natural anymore. I want to be smaller and weaker than I could be, just because I have some weird moral preference of being natural. Even though there's literally no downside whatsoever, like in a practical sense, to taking Captain America's super soldier serum. So it's bullshit. No sensible person would say they give a fuck about their natty card if there was a steroid that had absolutely no drawbacks whatsoever and gave you super strength. And then you can also add on top the, like, immortality crap like that. You can either add it or take it away. So it's not a matter of giving shit if you're natural. It's just neuroticism around health risks. So you're anxious about side effects. You're anxious about like health risks. That's it. That is the only fucking reason anybody has any interest in staying natural. So no, nobody cares about being natural. Kid Boo, let me see.
So wait, when y'all shower, y'all don't shave, you open your cheeks to let the water through?
That's different.
You don't do that?
That's different.
You do that?
That's different. That's different.
Do you do that?
When I'm showering,
touch my ass.
I don't fucking care. Thanks, Kid Boo.
Why is it that it's with so much pride that I can say that I'm a lifetime natural lifter? Well, it has nothing to do with being unable to compete in natty bodybuilding federations anymore. I think after these upcoming competitions, I'll be forever done.
Maybe it gave crazy goon sesh, but I don't know. Hyper strength, kind of useless. Yes, because being able to fight off against any attacker or save people who are like stuck under a car, or like rescue people in, you know, weird situations where otherwise you'd need like 10 people in the jaws of life. Yeah, I can't think of any fucking way super strength would be useful. Okay, you're just a fucking dumbass, dude.
With natural competitive bodybuilding. Unless I happen to be bitten by the competition bug, which I really hope I'm not, since contest prep is miserable. No, I think the biggest reason I want to preserve my natty card is that I'd like to be a role model to natural lifters around the world.
Thank you for the dumb commentary. Captain America serum definitely has drawbacks, makes you mentally unstable. That had nothing to do with the proposition I made. So what the like, I don't give a shit about the actual Marvel lore.
Lifters, statistically, are natural, and many of the most famous male fitness personalities are decidedly not natural, even if they claim otherwise. And the popular ones who genuinely
Red Skull didn't take Captain America's Super Soldier Serum. He took like a different version of it, and they later made the enhanced Super Soldier Serum, which is what Spider-Man's girlfriend took, Felicia Hardy, and she became Black Cat, and she was not like a morally perfect person. She ended up being a criminal, so no, still stupid.
Are natural often have bodybuilding genetics fathoms better than mine. With genetics that good, they may as well be on steroids for all the
Granted, though, this was the same bear species that a mama from said species ate her cubs at the National Zoo.
Video unavailable. Thank you, Dodo.
average lifter is concerned. So I think in some sense there's a kind of dearth of good and relatable natural lifter role models on social media. And that's a problem because for the average person starting out, you don't really know what results you can expect. So hopefully people can look at me forever and go, yeah, you might reasonably expect to look like Solomon if you take weight training and nutrition and sleep and stress management and so on very seriously.
Like, I'm not going to deny the guy looks good. He looks good. But it's like, again, I don't, like, it's just a weird mindset. I don't see how people don't look at life as a competition to, like, outdo other people, be better than everybody else, bigger, stronger, faster, smarter, more successful, make more money. Like, life is a competition for me. So it's just weird to be perfectly content with the way you look and you have access to steroids, which are extremely safe if used appropriately. And you could massively, massively accelerate your progress. Like, it is ridiculous how potent these drugs are. Just beyond stupid. Like, I've talked about this before. I started training seriously when I was about 16. And then I think I started at 150 pounds. And then from 16 to 34, I got up to 200 pounds. So with roughly the same body composition, I started off pretty lean when I started lifting. So from 16 to 34, I gained 50 pounds. Within 2 months of using only 210 milligrams of testosterone a week, I gained 20 pounds. And that was just pure fucking muscle tissue. This is a 2-month difference on only 200 milligrams. So I made nearly half the progress I made in nearly 10 years in only 2 months. And again, like if things are going well on track, like I'll probably be able to get up to 250 with a similar body composition I have now within the next 2-3 years. So like you're talking about a 50-pound rate of muscle gain within a time frame of about 3-4 years versus like 10 years. And again, like this is a super physiological amount of muscle mass. Like I could never have achieved this physique naturally. So also keep that in mind too. So like it's just weird that you wouldn't just hop on if that's your interest, like assuming if you get rid of that neuroticism around, oh my god, steroids are the most dangerous drugs imaginable when they're fucking not. Oh good, Streamlabs is being retarded. Oh my fucking god. I don't know if I can use my phone. What the fuck, dude?
So as you can see, Richard is hyper obsessed with injecting needles and foreign substances in himself, because he's too much of a pussified commie bitch to rely on his natural homo sapien traits. That's why he's a vaccine roid head. Stay natty.
The fuck? What the fuck is this? I think somebody might have stolen my credit card. What the fuck is this charge? What the fuck? Great.
Never mind that link. Here you go.
She's a special cub. We had to pull this cub because mom was not.
Oh, I
taking
have no
care of
idea. It's some weird company I've never heard of that gave me an invoice.
her. My name is Stacy Tabellario. I work at the Smithsonian's National Zoo, and lately I've been taking care of the sloth bear cub. We would love for this cub to be with Callie, the mother. That's not an option.
I'm gonna have to go to the
Callie
fucking
had
bank tomorrow, I
3
think.
cubs, and while she was in labor, one of the cubs was consumed. And that's not an unusual thing to happen with carnivores. And maybe it was a runt, maybe.
Well, that's too bad. Thanks, Dodo.
Dr. Abraham Erskine explained that the super soldier serum amplifies what is already inside a person. Good becomes great, and bad becomes worse. Hold nigger.
Thank you. You didn't listen to a single thing I said. Appreciate that. Let me think. Just trying to think how, if...
Stop going on those vegan porn sites. Try to tell you.
What in the fuck? Okay, I'm just gonna go to my bank tomorrow. Tell them it was like a fraudulent transaction or something. Fucking, like... What's this email for? That's fucking weird. I like it. So this wasn't even a notification from my bank. That's really fucking strange. I got a direct invoice. I don't know what the fuck that shit is.
Solomon, if you take weight training and nutrition and sleep and stress management and so on very seriously for 3 to 5 years. And if you look even better than me after putting in those years of hard work, then more power to you. I also want to communicate the message that natural is good enough, because it is. I mean, that's something I firmly believe. All of humanity...
I mean...
It just shows that bears are not the cute, cuddly animals woman who would choose over a man think they are. They are wild beasts with the teeth and claws.
That's nice. Thank you, Dodo. The average pet user is 100 times more knowledgeable about biology and physiology than a natural. We tend to take our cardio diet seriously to keep our blood work clean, plus ancillary meds, which are pro longevity. We're unironically healthier than naturals. Kind of depends, but like, yeah, I'd say good responsible pet users are probably healthier than your average natural. Thanks, Trend Prolapse. What the Oh my god, I'm just getting interrupted by like dumb nonsense and I can't think.
Good enough, because it is.
Oh yeah, natural's good enough. Earning $50,000 a year is good enough. Living in a fucking rat-infested apartment is good enough. Not being able to afford a car is good enough. Like, I mean, what's good enough for you is what's good enough for you. Like, I don't know, dude. If you're non-competitive and you don't care about being as big and strong as you could be, sure, I guess that's good enough. Just like how some people don't give a shit about wealth. Whatever they got is good enough, right? Like, what point are we fucking making here? If you have a goal interested, if you have some kind of goal, like being a pro bodybuilder or being a pro athlete or being bigger, stronger, faster than somebody else, and you're not bigger, stronger, faster than everybody else, you are not able to compete with the best of the best, then it's not good enough. And if the barrier to that is steroids, then yeah, you're gonna need steroids. Like this is talking without making any kind of fucking point.
I mean, that's something I firmly believe. All of humanity's great advancements and innovations and conquests and...
Yeah, all of humanity's innovations were built upon the idea what we have isn't good enough and we need to do better.
Triumphs were made by naturals. Natural is good enough. And that message would kind of evaporate if I were to hop on...
What does he mean, made by naturals? Like, this is so strange. Like, especially when you're talking about post-industrialization era. We made machines. Machines aren't natural. Like, we massively increased our productivity through unnatural means. We made machinery to do more work than we naturally could. Like, I don't get it. It's just strange. Like, and again, assuming in the future we're going to have better drugs that are more effective and safer, like, it's going to get to the point where we do have Captain America's super soldier serum, and you could have super strength and super physicality without any drawbacks. Are you going to make the argument, well, being natural is good enough? Like, what does that mean? What virtue is that? You could be better. You could have qualities that you appreciate that are better, like strength. Like, why wouldn't you take the super soldier serum?
On TRT, I'd be saying, no, nature wasn't.
How much did they
good
steal? $228. It's from a weird company. Apparently they do like data analytics or something. Really fucking weird.
And what does that communicate to my audience?
Natty Cope Destroyer, love when they try to call us cheaters for juicing. If the gear allows me to get a physique I could never achieve naturally, then how the fuck am I cheating? Yeah, it's weird. if you have to do something in order to get to a certain point, then it's not cheating. That's just a necessary step or condition to get to that thing. It's merely a tool you can use to achieve a look. There shouldn't be
Steroids
morality.
take more commitment. Boost test through peptides, max it out as much as you can, then gear last option. Why rely on that vial for life?
Peptides do not increase testosterone. There's no peptide that increases testosterone. And, like, what the fuck are you talking about? If you're relying on a drug to boost your testosterone, then you need to rely on that drug for the testosterone boost. So what's the fucking difference? Like, are you a fucking retard? There shouldn't be morality assigned to ped use. Yeah, I mean... Yeah, everyone's fine with people being fat, eating like shit, not exercising, drinking alcohol, smoking cigarettes, but as soon as you want to be big and strong, oh, you're a cheater. Like, these are just losers that are trying to hold you back and shame you for actually, you know, trying to achieve something and better yourself. Just fucking ridiculous. Thanks for the donation, Eddie Cope Destroyer. I think his point is that chasing something you don't have will keep you feeling unconfident or not good enough. That's fucking retarded. I don't have money. I need a job to get money. If I chase a job to get money, I will be unconfident and not good enough once I get the money. Like, what the fuck?
Audience. What does that communicate to my son, if I have a son? Well, Dad went on testosterone in his 20s, so maybe I should too. Is that really what I want my son to think?
If your son has an interest in bodybuilding or athletics, then what's the issue?
Is that what I want any of you to think? Yeah, sorry guys. I'm just another fitness influencer on steroids, like all the rest. I reject that. I don't think the fitness industry...
It also shows how dumb women are for thinking that animals as dangerous as bears are harmless, and feminists insist that women are smarter than men.
Yes, it is dumb. Thanks, Dodo.
...needs to be overrun by juicers and genetic elites. I don't think you need those qualities to be popular, influential, worth listening to, or otherwise aspirational. And I'd like to be the change I want to see in the world. Anyway, hopefully...
Like, that is just bizarre. I'm going to deliberately hold myself back and be non-competitive, and that's aspirational?
Hopefully the procedural and logistical barriers of trying to get a TRT prescription legally are enough of an obstacle to dissuade me. Many doctors would probably just refuse to prescribe it to me, and thank God for that. At bottom, I think I just miss feeling...
That is like the most retarded fucking thing imaginable. Androgen deficiency is such a common problem. I would actually state the majority of men right now have issues related to androgen deficiency. You can just see the decline in testosterone levels over time. It was not uncommon in the 1970s to see men have a total testosterone score above 1500. And I think the average around that time was somewhere between 700 and 800. Now it's around 450. So, and it keeps declining at a faster and faster rate. Over the last few years, I've seen some studies where the average decline over just a 2 or 3 year period has been about 100 nanograms per deciliter. It's fucking crazy. So the physiological need for testosterone hasn't changed, but it keeps declining. So if the average a few decades ago was somewhere between 700 and 800, but the average now for, you know, like a man between 20 and 30 is like 450, then like, yeah, the majority of men are likely androgen deficient, and they would benefit from testosterone replacement therapy. And this guy is saying it's a good thing that doctors are gatekeeping a fucking necessary drug
and making it harder for people to get the necessary therapy they need. It's a good thing that your rights and freedoms are being taken away and you don't have agency over your own body. And there's this weird fucking bureaucratic administration that's preventing you from doing what the fuck you want with your own body. Like, it's just a retarded idea.
Feeling normal, owing to the contest prep. And this is why I'm feeling tempted to juice up. It would fix me, the appetitive part of my mind whispers.
It's probably environmental exposure to endocrine disrupting pollutants that's causing the decline. That's really the only explanation there is right now.
As to other potential reasons, I can only surmise that perhaps it's because at some level, I feel as if there's nothing to look forward to after my bodybuilding shows, other than my physique regressing visually, despite all the hard work I put in. At least with anabolics in the mix, the appetitive part of my mind tells me at least, I'd be able to grow significant new muscle as I return.
I'm severely obese and have the test you had when you were natural. Should I hop on?
Your main priority should be losing weight, so use a GLP-1 agonist and lose weight. And if you think you can benefit from testosterone replacement therapy, sure, go on it, but you're going to have better results if you lose weight. Thanks for the donation help.
Turn to a heavier body weight, rather than just get fatter. In other words, my appetitive side feels that there would be more to look forward to after the competitions if I were to go on TRT. Now this is in...
Obesity doesn't seem to have anything to do with the decline in testosterone. Again, they use age-matched controls, and they control for things like BMI.
Insane, because I know that when I'm in my right mind, I much prefer and enjoy how I look and feel in my normal off-season state. And so returning my body to its ideal weight remains something devoutly to be wished for and to look forward to. So contest prep has clearly been messing with my head and warping my self-perception. The appetitive part of my mind is also telling me, if I ever were to get a legal prescription for TRT, then now would be my chance. Because once I start eating again, my hormones will return to a healthy level, and I'll no longer qualify for a prescription, so I have to act now. Saying it out loud makes me realize how crazy all of it.
New music for your next training sesh. Love from Sydney, AU. What face?
Yeah, I'm not really into that kind of music. I like metal, but like when it's messy and they just screech and growl. Thanks for the donation though, D-Hume. Appreciate it.
Of this is. Because once again, I know that when I'm in my right mind, I don't want anything to do with juice. So this has been a very frightening and unexpected experience during this contest prep. But laying everything out, talking candidly about why I feel the pull of TRT, and objectively articulating all of the pros and cons of juicing up has really helped me. Because I now see that going on TRT would probably just represent a net cost for me. In terms of the benefits, the only long-term ones I can really think of that mean anything.
He's only saying that because he's not on TRT. Like, look, having super physiological levels of testosterone, it makes you feel better and your body just functions better. You're bigger, faster, stronger, more energetic. You're more mentally focused. Like, just everything improves. So, like, as soon as you just hop on, it's like you just realize I should have just done this when I was like 10 years old. So, yeah. Again, there's beneficial effects to your lipid profile. In general, you don't see negative changes to blood pressure. Protects against prostate cancer. It's also being shown to protect against brain cancer. And it also improves mood. So it's like, okay, I can build way more muscle, feel better, stay leaner, have a better overall physique, make more progress. Like, if this guy were to hop on, his mindset would totally change.
To me relate to having a stronger, leaner, and more muscular physique, which is quite a superficial and marginal benefit if I think about it, especially considering that I'm already in good shape. So no, I won't be getting on any anabolics, at least not until the drug wave comes about that Mike Israetel prophesies, where you can take miracle drugs that offer only benefits and zero health.
So see, he said he doesn't want to give up his natty card, but then he said he'd do it if there were drugs that had only positives, no negatives. So he doesn't care about being natural. This is all neuroticism around thinking a little bit of testosterone is going to kill me. Anadrol Skittles, naturals trying to morally shame ped use is like religious people saying you're going to hell for not believing their religion. Blame natural hypertrophy for this. Skip to 19. Try not to cringe. Natural hypertrophy is like the biggest dumb fuck imaginable. The only person who competes with him for just like fucktardedry would be Atlas Power Shrugged.
Actually, yes, natural lifters are superior in every single aspect, but the physical one. When you present...
So naturals are inferior to drug-enhanced lifters, which is the only thing we fucking care about because we're talking about lifting.
The act of lumping all gear users into one bad category as wrong, I must say that you are not necessarily incorrect, because there are stratas of gear users. Some are better than others, some give better advice than others, but at the end of the day, they all have one thing in common, and that one thing is that they're on drugs. And I'm especially interested in your choice of images when you said that, because in the background of your video, you put a picture of John Meadows. And it's the John Meadows one that I'm most interested about, because with the context you provide, I'm assuming that you mean that John was a good guy who gave good information, but who was also on drugs. And I can only agree with that. I liked John very much, just like many people. But something that you don't say, and that then sort of plagues your argument, is that John is dead. Right now speaking, he's
dead because he ate like a retard. That guy made a video about how he like literally saturated fat maxes. He found, I don't know if the guy was a medical doctor or if he was a naturopathic doctor, but he found some like fucking South American dude who could barely speak English, who called himself a doctor. And he made a video about how you want to eat as much saturated fat as you can. So rather than like eating margarine or using oil for cooking, he was talking about how butter is superior. You should use coconut oil if you're going to use any oil, or palm oil, which is the worst fucking oil you can choose. That guy was literally eating a diet that gave him fucking heart disease. He also talked about being on statins and cholesterol lowering meds. Like he just gave himself heart disease with his shitty diet. I doubt the steroids had much to do with anything. He also got his first heart attack right around COVID. That might have also played a role. There's a bunch of weird shit that happened around COVID. There was a few people who got heart attacks and blood clots. And we know COVID does trigger, blood clots to form. There was also a lot of people who ended up getting tendon ruptures. And I think that also probably had something to do with COVID. It does attack every organ system in the body. Wouldn't surprise me if a lot of those tendon ruptures were also just due to COVID. But yeah, the guy just ate like shit. Like if you're gonna say, oh, steroids killed him, but he's making videos about how he literally tries to put butter in everything, like, I mean, give me a fucking break.
You look happier today, Veggie.
That's nice. Thanks, 21st. Wow, have to be cautious for certain situations.
Hey YouTube, I'm Matthew Tontat. I'm a board certified urologist. A big reason I chose urology is because it's a specialty of men's health, which I am very passionate about. I've learned some things in my training, greater body fat percentage. So the biochemical reality, let's start with what's actually happening in your body. If you are carrying extra weight, then you have more fat tissue. It's a form of make. Classic low T symptoms. You have the fatigue, You need to stay on TRT to maintain your testicles will not have made much some science in order to you therefore
This video is retarded and boring. Thank you.
And any woman who claims bears are sweethearts has clearly not seen Toy Story 3.
Yes, the main villain was a bear. Thank you, Dodo. Did you notice a certain larger population of a certain demographic when you're in Australia? Chinese?
He's dead, and he's dead for one reason and one reason only. He was on
I'm not 2xing that video. That was just a bunch of horseshit.
drugs. He wasn't a bad person because he was taking drugs, but the end result is still the same. He lost his life. So this discussion on morality.
I don't know how the fuck he can figure he died just due to steroids. Like, and the guy ate like a fucking retard, and he had his first heart attack around COVID. That likely also played a role.
I have a problem with to start with because we're not discussing the facts anymore. What we're discussing, virtue and values and all that is very good and very well, but at the end of the day, there are clear repercussions to taking drugs, and you cannot dodge them by saying, oh, well, me taking drugs doesn't make me a bad person. Yes, I agree, but it does make you a dead person. And that is my point, something I push with PEDs. Well, most of the time, I try to move away.
That's nice. So, little beta male faggot, is hyperneurotic and scared of a little bit of his own hormones. Natural hypertrophy is like literally fucking retarded.
Risks. I really didn't want to keep this torment to myself. I mean, it may look as if throughout this series I haven't been talking about any of the dark sides of contest prep as applied to myself. And that was because, at least in the earlier episodes, I was very much in the honeymoon phase of contest prep. That is to...
Okay. That was not a smart portion of the video. A lot of ideas that just made no sense, and he, like, would say things that had no point behind it. And it was just, like, a lot of weird, bizarre, baseless moralizing. I might make a video response to this. I don't know if I'll focus so much on the research aspect, like health risks with TRT use or anything, but yeah, just the weird moral points he made. Like, really weird. That was really strange.
If you're a regular viewer of my channel,
I'm the victim! Remember, I'm the victim!
The DoorDash girl, Olivia Henderson, is going for a gambit with her open door theory. We're going to do that today on The Legal Mind, so we teach you to be your own judge. I'm Andrew Esquire, American attorney. Now, this has been an absolutely fascinating case because this individual, Olivia Henderson, who some of you may know as the DoorDash girl, has seemed to have incited people all around the world who looked at this case and said, this is absolutely ridiculous. This girl, she filmed a man who was incapacitated. He was passed out drunk on his couch.
Total bitch. Total bitch.
That's up.
I really hope they throw the book at her and she's like in prison for 10 years.
And disseminated online, claiming this guy was harming her, but that backfired as criminal charges were pressed against her for the filming of this man and dissemination of that online, in which went viral all over the internet. Now, this has come down to some very interesting arguments as the hearings are now starting in this case, and folks that are attending those are sending me information, and I find it very fascinating that the defense seems to be hinging all their marbles on the open door theory, everything they're putting into this basket, because we haven't seen a plea deal yet.
Just thinking of how my credit card information could get stolen, I did order an airsoft gun online. And I did order peptides from a website I haven't used before. It's either one of those. Could just be a complete coincidence. Who the fuck knows? But like, I have gone to some random gas stations too. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, maybe one of them had a card scanner. Who the fuck knows?
yet, which is the most likely outcome in almost all cases, especially for a first-time offender like Olivia Henderson. But instead, they're going with this open door theory. So what is the law? So the law requires for these criminal charges, both for taking the actual photos, the video, and the dissemination online, it requires a reasonable expectation of privacy. Now, that is something we know very much in the legal world and is very much a subjective thing, because in different scenarios, we have different expectations of privacy. So, for example, if you're in your bedroom with all the doors closed, you have a higher expectation of privacy than if you're walking down the street and people were to be filming you while you're walking somewhere in public. And that is material to these charges that are brought in against the DoorDash girl. So what is her claim? Well, her claim was the door was wide open and the man was fully visible. Therefore, there's no expectation of privacy. Now, this is something very, very interesting. She's also pointing out, and the defense is pointing out, that the customer selected the leave at door option. So she was obligated to come to that door and then see what she saw. So they're hoping that by taking out this reasonable expectation of privacy, saying there was no expectation, this is visible to anybody, that will knock out the charges. Now, as much as they're hoping that...
Her public defender challenging the prosecution's narrative, she invaded her victim's privacy, an argument he's asking the judge to rule on.
While it is reasonable to expect for most people that you have privacy, if you do something to not have privacy, then you no longer have a reasonable expectation of privacy.
As much as her lawyer is banking on that, the prosecution has quite a different angle, and the law is quite different than she might hope for. So first of all, they're going to bank on the fact that the door wasn't fully open. And it seems like there may be some footage from that Ring camera, or perhaps from other vantage points that we can see where she actually opened the door or nudged the door open. And that evidence is obviously key here. So any footage that we have from the Ring camera or any other footage she may have taken that's on her phone that's been discovered, because of course the prosecutors can go through all that data. They can go get all the video they need to be able to prove this. If they can show the door wasn't fully open, then that pretty much bombs her case. I mean, it absolutely takes out any of her arguments and makes her very culpable. But even if it wasn't, that doesn't invite filming. And this is the key here. Even if the door was partially open or even fully open, it doesn't necessarily invite filming. And the one thing that's very difficult to get past, that I think Olivia and her attorney are going to have a lot of trouble, is the intentional filming. At no point does a passed out drunk man have the ability to give consent and say, yeah, it's okay for you to film this stuff. She made an intentional decision to pull out her phone, to record that, to focus, to zoom in on the intimate part.
You should totally challenge Salman to a debate, discussion, or make a response with it, since he did name drop you specifically. Sentiment around PDs is turning as more and more people are realizing peds have been fearmongered to death. We were supposed to do like an interview and talk about shit, but like, yeah, it was hard to get back to him and stuff. So I don't know, like, I know he's going through university, he might have been busy, but I don't know if he has like an actual interest in talking to me. Maybe he does. I don't know, or like maybe he's just busy. I left a comment saying that I'd be willing to talk to him about it. I'd be surprised if he didn't see that. So I'll probably make a response video.
Do you think it's stupid to do a cycle of Anavar while cutting? Before getting on testosterone long term?
Well, you're going to have a shutdown of your natural test production, so... Especially if you take Anavar too early, I would say by the 2-month mark, you're going to be like severely hypogonadal. And again, if you're dieting at that point too, it may take longer than normal to get your testosterone levels back to normal. So like all the positive physical changes you made, they're probably going to reverse faster. So if you're going to dabble with steroids and do an Anavar only cycle just to see how it goes, I just do it for a month. you're probably not going to get that much shut down at that point, and I wouldn't do it while dieting because, like, again, you'd ideally want to be able to get your test levels back pretty quickly. With short-acting steroids like Anavar, it doesn't cause the same kind of HPTA shutdown that longer-acting steroids do. So you generally see within a month your hormone levels recover back to normal. So it's not a bad idea to do an Anavar-only cycle just to see if you kind of want to keep using steroids, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend it during a cutting phase because, again, you're going to be, like, particularly, like, hypogonadal, and it might take longer to recover. And, like, again, if you do all that work dieting, and then just because you're a hormonal state, you kind of reverse that faster than normal, it doesn't really make sense. So, like, that's my stance on that. Thanks for the donation, though, Didi. But yeah, I'll probably make a response vid trend prolapse. Thanks for the donation.
The parts that people wouldn't want to exposed on the internet, to record that and to post it online and to make it go viral. That's all her decisions. She did that herself, so she needs to take accountability for that, which is something she has not taken to this day, and said, no, I did that. I shouldn't have done that. That's very much at the core of this. And the New York state law, when you look at this New York law, it actually is more on the side of the prosecutors. The interior of a private residence, especially when a person is incapacitated or vulnerable, is considered core to your privacy. Even the living room, even places where you could see through a window. And actually, the case law, when I looked into this, there's a case of a woman who was filmed through a small window while she was in a state of undress. Even though that small window was visible to the outside, they was still found that she had a reasonable expectation of privacy and could not be filmed. So the New York law is very strong on this. Even if there's a window, even if someone could see in, it doesn't matter for that reasonable expectation of privacy. This is different from the plain view doctrine that cops use for evidence and for searches. In this, you have a stronger expectation of privacy. Now, what are we looking at for the plea deal? Well, she's facing up to 8 years in prison. Now, that's a long time, but remember, she's a first-time offender, so almost always first-time offenders get a light sentence. So the realistic outcome, if she actually came to that plea deal, would probably be reduction to a misdemeanor with a few months in a local jail, local New York jail at most, with some probation, maybe a couple of years of probation with some requirements on that probation. She probably wouldn't be able to continue to profit off of this. So that's the most likely outcome, and I think that's something that they should both work for. So that brings me to my judgment. So in judgment here, the law is still on the prosecution's side. I think New York law errs on the side of the prosecution here, and I think Olivia is still pushing it with this defense. Of course,
She's a crazy unhinged bitch. Just totally crazy unhinged.
I'm fed up with this bodybuilding nonsense. You can keep watching at 6 hours. I don't want it. Yours. Oh, wow. Catch you now.
Hey guys, welcome to another one of my amazing vlogs. Starting right here in my kitchen, you'll be catching up with shut up. Sorry, excuse me. This is just the start of just how amazing this vlog is going to be. Starting here, I'm going to deliver you.
This guy got, like, seriously fucked up and retarded. What's the deal with the face tattoos? You can always tell when somebody's life went to shit when they start getting face tattoos. Wonder what he's, like, doing now.
Just the worst incredible content. Be prepared for the worst shit you'll ever see. I'm excited. We're gonna get this day started. Can't interfere in these ones. You know what? All natural, organic. Don't panic, it's organic. You know what? I just realised something. You know, there's like the caged eggs and the natural organic ones, and the organic ones are like a lot more expensive than the caged ones. Yeah. Just go in there and swap the eggs out. It's cartons. Half the price, twice. Oh,
already.
He was like, oh. Found him at a bus stop in Vietnam. I'm hoping we can get him in the vlog today. Well, on my video, do you want to get on the video diary?
The night before last, I only slept like 3 hours, so I'm just...
Get away. Are you natural? Real? J Cutler.
Yeah, that heart failure really fucked him up. Do you think Calum would have given C-Bum run for his money if he didn't go down a slippery slope? Wasn't he too big for Classic? Like, wasn't he above the weight cap for his height? So, I don't know.
To any viewers or young listeners here, if you are considering, and I know it's a big world and there's so much information out there now. When I started, there was no social media. When you'd go to the gym, there was no real phones. People were quite, they weren't as open about steroid use. For me to find and source steroids, one, it was a lot harder than it is today. Two, it was a lot more expensive. And three, I had proper guidance and help at the beginning. So what I'm going to say, if you haven't started and you're considering it, I would say don't. Just stay natural. Look after your health. One, you're going to save more money because it's expensive. And two,
it's not expensive. Like, it's also weird to, like, mention the cost. The cost is not substantive. And two, if, like, lifting and athletics are your hobby, like, why wouldn't you invest more in your hobby?
You'll also save on doctor visits, on all that sort of stuff. And you are...
I live in Canada. All my doctor visits are free, including blood work.
Basically completely eliminating the risk of all the sides that steroids bring. And there are a lot of them. Like, I mean, look, my hair starts receding, your balls
yeah, men go bald. Who the fuck cares?
Shrink up.
I have not had any noticeable testicular shrinkage, and who the fuck cares? I only see women giving a shit about how big your penis is, not how big your balls are. I've never heard of a girl being into big balls. I've only ever seen girls talk like being into big dicks. So who the fuck cares?
All these things come later that you won't see at the start. All you're going to see at the start is gains in muscle mass and stuff. You'll feel great, but eventually the sides will kick in. They'll come. And the longer you take them, the more stretched out it's going to be, and the more severe the sides are. So if you're starting out and you're thinking about steroids, don't take them. Train at least 5-6 years first. See what you can bring your physique to naturally. See what your genetic DNA makeup is capable of, and do it that way. If you are considering and you want to do it, then make sure you have a really good reason to, okay? The only reason that I would say that you should take steroids, if you're going to consider, is if you wanted to become a professional bodybuilder on a very competitive level in that class, in that untested classes, okay? Otherwise, if you're just trying to be an influencer, there's no need. You know, all you need is a six-pack and, you know, a decent chest and some biceps. You don't need to be ripped and massive. You just need to be good-looking enough and fit and know your stuff, right? You don't need to take steroids to be an influencer. Secondly, peptides, okay? That's another huge topic. And I can dive in a little bit on peptides. I haven't had a lot of experience with them. I only started taking peptides when I was injured, okay? So I used them to help aid and accelerate my injuries. So following the...
He might be too stupid to know what peptides are. Growth hormone is a peptide. It would surprise me a little bit if he never took growth hormone. It's possible. I have seen some pretty big pros that have either never taken it or they might have taken it for like a month and then they just stopped because they didn't notice a benefit from it. But he may just be stupid and not know what a peptide is.
A tear in my quadricep and my biceps, I would use BPC 157, TB 500. It's hard to compare it because all I did was use them. I didn't ever have an injury without them, except no, I did the second time I tore my arm. So the first time, the recovery was well. It's peptides. I'm going to tell you, they're not going to give you any significant increase in gaining muscle mass. So do I classify peptides as being natural? I'm not sure.
I mean, they will if you're taking growth hormone along with other anabolics.
I think you could just say you peptides, but you know, the natty versus not natty. I mean, peptides don't really show up in the test. Whatever shows up in the test doesn't even matter. But peptides, if you're considering that, I think that's very useful if you're having injuries.
Do you feel weight of the dating market when women believe you have a BBC and you have to whip it out?
No, thanks for the donation.
And to help accelerate recovery. Growth hormone, well, that's another big one. It comes with a lot of potential risks as well. So you want to have done checkups, health checkups, and not have any underlying issues.
Growth hormone is extraordinarily innocuous, and worst side effect that I generally see from it is just low T4. I got low T4 from it, but again, you can just replace it with Synthroid. And it's not an expensive medication; it's very cheap.
Any growths or tumors or anything, something because it'll just accelerate.
Is it hard not to cheat on Pat when you're
So if you had anything that's underlying or dormant, that could be a cancer or whatever, and it might be dormant your whole life if you don't touch it, but some people, they can take growth hormone and then all of a sudden it becomes an issue and it grows, it just helps everything grow. So I've got a friend who took growth hormone for years. His hands are massive. He's like frying piece. His fingers are just like thick as carrots. So yeah, you got to be mindful of that. Like everything grows, but again, only under strict supervision.
Growth hormone is not in milk.
Overall, look, if you're young, if you're in your low 20s or in your teens, don't take steroids. Okay, just train, just follow a program, be strict on yourself, be disciplined, eat well, train hard, listen to the coaches, but don't listen to every other influencer out there who's telling you, or wannabe influencers or coaches and stuff. I'm sure a lot of you see online a lot of self-proclaimed coaches, gurus, influencers, fitness athletes that claim natural. They say they're 100% natural. I'll tell you right now, probably 90% of them are not, okay? 90% of the people in your gym are probably not natural, okay? No one is
I wouldn't say it's that high.
natural these days, all right? Guarantee it. Okay, someone's rubbing in some testosterone lotion or taking a freaking testosterone, doesn't matter. People that are claiming to sell you a program that you can look like this in 6 weeks, they can give you these abs, they're not natural. And if they claim natural, they're full of shit. Call them out on it, okay? Because I'll tell you right now, from day one, if someone asked me in person, straight up, even on
Raw milk does not have natural steroids in it.
am I natural? I'd say no. If I say that I am, I'm taking the piss. Unless they're taking the piss, they're probably not natural. Okay, so keep that in mind, that if you are wanting a natural coach, it's very hard to find one. I probably know 2 on this planet that are actually natural because I've known them my whole life. And I can name one of them off the top of my head. Aaron Curtis. Okay, he's a legend. I compete against him in the A and B to this day, and I've seen his physique, and it hasn't, sorry Aaron, but it hasn't made any crazy changes. But he's stayed consistent for 20 years. He's had a good physique. You know what I mean? If I could have looked like him over 20 years versus how I've peaked and fallen, I would stay natural and stay that way and look like that. But just be mindful out there, all you young.
Dodo.
Language. Sure, you can do that. You make your new language. And that's what you can do. You see, let me describe the Gödel theorem, how it works. You see, the Gödel theorem says you construct a statement which says, you see what it means. The way you've constructed the sentence, you can see what it means. And what it means is, I am not provable by those rules. And it does that. It really says that. Then you see, okay, well, perhaps it is provable by the rules. If it is provable by the rules, then it must be true. Well, I've said it the wrong way around. Doesn't matter. The other way, suppose it's false. Then that means it's provable by the rules. And if it's provable by the rules, you've understood the rules, you said, you looked at them all and said, yes, that's okay, that. Sure, if you follow those rules, it is true. So that means you believe that the rules only give you truths. So therefore it is true that it's not provable by the rules. If it's false, you see, then it is provable by the rules, and therefore it's true. So it has to be true and not provable by the rules.
No idea what the fuck he's talking about.
Did you know that this might be the original granita? Falude. This Persian dessert was invented more than 2000 years ago, when snow and ice were stored in underground pits and mixed with thin noodles and fruit syrups to cool off during the hotter days. Through Arab conquests, these early forms of falude likely influenced sherbet, a tradition that eventually reached Sicily and evolved into what we know today as granita. Making it is simple, but takes a bit of patience to give it its iconic scraped ice texture. It's then traditionally served with sour cherry syrup, pistachios and lime for a historic summer dessert. Wunderbar.
I'd rather.
OpenAI said during a Black Hat Security Conference that between the end of May and the beginning of July, internal AIs had hacked into the software package manager and used that to write notes to each other in a secret way to help each other perform well on a bunch of evaluations that OpenAI was running. This was not caught by humans until after a month of this scheme running, which eventually caused the package manager to fail. And then I think they tried to re-engage in the scheme once it was shut down. Again, obviously AIs can't do this so successfully right now, just as they can't do social engineering so successfully right now. But it's just crazy that these kinds of behaviors are already emerging. Nobody is trying to make these AIs do these things. It is just that we do not understand the environments which are incentivizing this behavior. OpenAI said during...
Yes. Cat with a camera. Oh, cicada. Cicada shell. Squirrel. Why are cats so fucking adorable? Is my cat down here? No, I think he's upstairs. She lying about the water.
If you're using tap water to make your food or your recipes, you are exposing yourself to neurotoxins, heavy metals, and other chemicals every single day. This isn't something that most people typically think about because they assume that their tap water is typically very safe to drink or to use with food. Just for a moment, think about all the different ways that you use the water coming from your sink. Whether to boil something, to make a smoothie, to make soup, to make drinks, to wash your hands, to wash your legs. The same water that you're using outside to your home, whether that be to also produces having.
Yeah, this is a paid advertisement for a water filter. It's just fucking stupid. Thanks, Dodo.
Guns, okay? Really, really be careful who you choose to be influenced and coached by. Do your background research, look into it, and don't make any rash decisions. Be patient. By all means, hit me up in the comments here. I'm happy to give back feedback where I can. And if you want my coaching program, just
Yeah, just, you know, steroids are fine.
Could nicotine actually be good for you? Ask most people, and they'll tell you it's the thing that gives smokers cancer. Ask some others, and they'll tell you they use it on purpose. Joe Rogan does it. He calls it a neuroprotectant that slows down the decline of his nervous system. RFK Jr. is a regular user of nicotine pouches, and a growing number of prominent health influencers say they are too. Here's a number that got me. In a survey of 1,000 American doctors, cardiologists, oncologists, smart people, 4 out of 5 of them said nicotine directly contributes to cancer, but it doesn't. Many of the people giving you...
Dodo, let me see.
The narrative that we should just give up and accept an unjust status quo. God is greater, and we are greater than this moment. We will get past this. I hope that all of you take a moment to grieve all the siblings that we've lost over the past year, to acknowledge that you are a different person than you were a year ago, and to mourn that version of yourself that's this. An imperative to not just imagine.
Yeah, she's a terrorist.
By the way, I'm this is like maybe super heterodox. I am not sure that I think the reserve currency is actually good for the United States of America. I think there is a good argument that reserve currency status is akin to coal in Appalachia.
That is literally retarded.
It's a resource curse, right? It allows your consumers to consume very cheaply, right? That's been the story of the American economy for the last
why would you want to make everybody more poor?
15 or so years, even before that, is we can just borrow basically in an unlimited way because we have the reserve currency.
He wants Americans to be poor? Dude, JD Vance is a fucking retard.
کشور عزیز ما افغانستان را وارد کردند به خاطر که خانواده های مسلمان را به طرف تباهی و به طرف دوزخ و عذاب قبر یعنی بران مسلمانان که حرام.
They're destroying a TV because it's haram, didn't exist in Muhammad's time, while filming it on their phones and posting it online. Yeah, that's Muslims. Thanks, Dodo.
Medical advice don't seem to know the truth. So the elephant in the room is this. Something we spent decades treating as pure poison might actually have real, legitimate upsides, and saying that out loud almost feels taboo. I'm Ken LaCourte, and my job here is simple. Dig past what everyone assumes and tell you what I learned.
Well, we know for sure nicotine protects against Parkinson's disease.
Even when it's inconvenient. So here's where we're headed. I'll start with looking at the unlikely comeback of nicotine. Then we'll describe how it became the wrong culprit people blame. Then I'll look at how often it's the exit ramp for smokers before looking at nicotine as medicine. And finally, I'll tackle the unsettled questions. All right, nicotine might just be the most demonized drug in modern history. It's blamed for a body count higher than just about any substance on earth. Doctors, parents, and public health campaigns have spent,
well, it's tobacco specifically,
60 years warning us away from it. So why is it making an unlikely comeback?
Now that Density is starting to call DSA sympathizing PP out, can you go to him to tell him we're ready and available to 2v2 any beta male faggots if Density needs you to mog anyone for him?
Sure, I can do that. Thanks, Dodo.
As is so often the case, most of this started online with podcasts and biohacking forums. But it's quickly moved into the real world. A lot of smart people concerned about their health.
This is not a smart person who's concerned about their health.
Are choosing to take it. So why? Stanford neurobiologist and podcaster Andrew Huberman has said that nicotine sharpens the mind and that he occasionally uses small amounts.
So occasionally, like right now, I do a half a piece, but I'm not.
Huberman's a hack.
Russian. So I'm a little, you have to just pop the whole thing in your mouth. So I'll do a couple milligrams every now and again, and it definitely sharpens the mind.
He's told a story in his own show about a colleague of his, a Nobel Prize winner, who chews nicotine gum specifically to boost cognitive focus. Peter Attia, a physician who's built his entire brand around living longer and better, for years has talked about using nicotine gum and lozenges.
How's Pat doing?
Good, thanks.
As a focus aid before deep work. Dave Asprey, the guy who basically invented the word biohacking, says he doses 1 to 2 milligrams a few times a week, specifically for long work sessions and jet lag. I mean, these aren't burnouts smoking outside of a 7-Eleven. There are people who read science for a living, and they've decided that it's worth
Dave Asprey's a retard.
Doing. Of course, carefully and in doses. These days, nicotine is now a big business. Gum sales are worth almost $2 billion a year now. There's also a new nicotine energy drink on the market infused with nicotine and caffeine. Its first production
That's probably dumb.
Run, about 250,000 cases, nearly sold out. The company's co-founder said it's
That's like actually dumb.
Stuck in a regulatory limbo, waiting on the government to tell them whether they can actually keep selling it. All this hasn't gone unnoticed by big corporations. In 2022, Philip Morris paid $16 billion for the company that makes Zyn. It shipped almost 800 million cans in the US alone last year. I'll tell you what they say they get from those little white pouches. But first, a few words from today's sponsor, Incogni. They're about protecting you by protecting your data, your watch history, 50% off their annual plan. All right, so back to nicotine. What does it do to the body that people find so appealing? First, it raises dopamine and norepinephrine, the chemicals behind alertness and focus. Researchers confirm that effect. Now, most of them put it roughly in the same range as a strong cup of coffee. It's real and measurable, but not really transformative. The
Does not feel like coffee.
dosing that biohackers talk about, none of them are doing it daily or in big amounts. They're doing it occasionally, in small doses. Closer to a double espresso before a long stretch of grunt work than a
Yeah, it's not anything like coffee. It's much more relaxing. It's like relaxing and focusing. It doesn't give you kind of like a rush like coffee does.
Pack-a-day cigarette habit. Some in the space also point out that nicotine's...
Good evening, Richard. Why on so late tonight?
That's kind of the norm. Thanks, dude.
appetite-suppressing effects, since it mildly raises your metabolism. Now, if that pitch sounds familiar, it's because it's almost word for word the one cigarette companies used for decades to sell smoking to women, and teenage girls especially. They said the nicotine would help them keep slim, and they weren't wrong. A lot of people gain weight after they stop smoking. But even Huberman, who's about as pro-nicotine as any credentialed scientist gets, doesn't pretend it's free of downsides. The most obvious one is addiction itself, and it's very addictive. But it's unclear just how much it takes and how often you have to use it before you find yourself really needing a daily fix. For pouches and gum,
nicotine typically reduces appetite. That's weird that you get an appetite increasing effect from it.
we just don't know yet. They're too new. But for cigarettes, we've got decades of science, and that's not reassuring. For years, the assumption was that dependence took months of daily use. But studies tracking kids from their very first cigarette have found some showing real symptoms of dependency within days or weeks, from as little as 2 cigarettes a week. Adults have more of a buffer, but the direction's the same. It's the same molecule hitting the same receptors, whether it's from a cigarette or a pouch, so there's no chemical reason to expect pouches to be any different. But we just don't have that data to prove it either way yet. What we have learned is that we've been blaming the wrong culprit for the dangers of cigarettes for as long as I've been alive, and nobody's really bothered to correct the record. Start with a number that's legitimately scary. Cigarette smoking kills almost 500,000 Americans every single year. Worldwide, it's something like 7 million. Nobody really disputes that. But the nicotine in a cigarette isn't what's killing people. It's a wrong notion that many people have, as I mentioned.
Yeah, tobacco has a number of carcinogens in it. It's not nicotine, though.
Including many in the medical system. That survey up top was from researchers at Rutgers, who published it in 2021 and found 80% of doctors say that nicotine contributes to cancer. Some even blamed it for COPD, which is also not true. Among the general public, opinions kind of all over the map. Another survey, also by Rutgers, but more recently in 2026, it found that depending purely on the phrasing, the share of Americans who got it right swung from 10% to 80%. So all over the map. And here's the thing that makes this wild. The science pointing away from nicotine really isn't new at all. Back in the 1920s and 30s, a physician named Angel Rofo, who ran Argentina's main cancer institute, painted tobacco tar onto the ears of rabbits, and they grew tumors. Then he did the same thing with nicotine alone, and nothing happened. A century ago, the tar, not the nicotine, was the known carcinogen. The distinction between the addictive part and the deadly part has been part of the scientific record since well before World War II. So how did we get to the point where nicotine became the demon? Well, part of it's real. Nicotine is the reason cigarettes are so hard to quit. It's genuinely one of the most addictive substances people regularly put into their bodies. And the industry itself didn't help untangle things. In 1994, 7 tobacco company CEOs sat in front of Congress, raised their right hand, and testified under oath that they didn't believe nicotine was addictive.
Just yes or no. Do you believe nicotine is not addictive?
I believe nicotine is not addictive, yes.
Mr. Johnston.
Congressman, cigarettes and nicotine clearly do not meet the classic definitions of addiction. There is no intoxication.
We'll take that as a no.
And this is also why people dismissed a lot of the research from back then. Nobody believed them, and the fallout from that testimony also helped cement nicotine specifically as public enemy number 1. So for most of the last century, nicotine and cigarette have basically functioned as the same word. In public health messaging, in law, and how your grandmother talked about it at the dinner table, the two got fused into one thing. Once something that addictive sits at the center of something that deadly, it's an easy, almost automatic leap to assume the addictive part is also the deadly part. But that's just not how the chemistry works. California's still playing it into that hype. I was at a movie recently, and before the film, they showed an ad produced by the state, which was part of a $5 million statewide campaign targeting what they call big nicotine. And it was one of those disgusting close-ups of eyes, close-ups of gross gums. And that confusion has real costs in the real world. Nicotine patches and gums that was designed to help people quit smoking still carry a lot of warning labels. And those aren't necessarily untrue, but to the extent they keep people smoking, that's a bad problem. Vapes ran into the same wall when they first showed up. In 2008, the World Health Organization said there wasn't enough scientific evidence to back up the claims that e-cigarettes were safer than regular cigarettes. A year later, the FDA went further and tried to block their import into the United States entirely. That was overturned by the courts. And here's the part that's a little hard to swallow in hindsight. Because while regulators were trying to treat the new vapes like a drug, they went on to outperform the FDA's own approved nicotine replacement therapies, like patches, gums, and lozenges. Hey, look, I tried to get every fact right here, and my sources are down in the notes, but if I slipped up somewhere, let me know, and I'll fix it in the comment section below. All right, so the exit ramp is what alternate nicotine products really became for millions of smokers. For many, it was the main thing that helped them get off cigarettes for good. But to understand it, we should first look at the chemistry, because cigarette smoke contains thousands of chemicals, and dozens of them are known to be carcinogens, although not nicotine. The FDA itself has now put that in writing. As of this year, the agency authorized Zyn to be marketed using a specific claim that using Zyn instead of cigarettes puts you at a lower risk.
No thanks. Not relying on nicotine or any other harmful chemicals to stay alert. I'll simply rely on a consistent sleep schedule and not being a nicotine addict like Richie. That sounds better.
That's nice. Thanks, dude.
Risk of mouth cancer, heart disease, lung cancer, stroke, emphysema, and chronic bronchitis. It's worth being exact about what that claim covers, because it's about switching from cigarettes. It's not a blanket declaration that nicotine is safe for everybody, and the FDA has been very careful not to say that. Here's some more data. Researchers have pulled together well over 100 clinical trials with more than 60,000 people total, all of them smokers trying to quit. Some of them got nicotine replacement tools, others got placebos. The nicotine groups, they succeeded at quitting long-term at rates roughly 50 to 60% higher than the placebo group. Those results hold up regardless of setting or country. Same story with vaping. In a major clinical trial, smokers who used e-cigarettes had better success in stopping smoking altogether. Several countries have done this at a national scale. Sweden. Pouches replaced cigarettes there on a massive scale, despite complaints from the EU, which banned them in 1992. Sweden only sells them because it negotiated an exemption while joining the Union in 1995. Every other country in the EU is still legally barred from selling the product that helped drive Sweden's smoking rate to below 4%. It's the first country in Europe to drop below 5%, the threshold that the
Sweden's fucking retarded.
WHO says is smoke-free. Swedish men now have lung cancer mortality about 60% below the European average. And the pattern isn't just Sweden. Norway saw its own smoking rates fall to about 7% on the same kind of switch. Japan tested it with an entirely different product, heated tobacco, that arrived in 2014, and in the years after, cigarette sales fell twice as fast as before. Different countries, different products, but the same direction. Now let's look beyond nicotine as just an aid to stop people from smoking. Let's talk about nicotine as medicine. I mean, it sounds like a contradiction, but for the last 30 years, serious researchers have tested it out as exactly that.
Are there any hot singles in your area? I could imagine one's name starts with the letter J. If you need a quick release since your test is over 5K and Pat isn't there for you.
The question now is whether nicotine, on its own, does anything actively good for you beyond that cup of coffee focus I talked about. Nicotine raises your heart rate and blood pressure and constricts your blood vessels. As a stimulant, it also helps delay sleep and it reduces deep sleep. That's nicotine acting on a healthy body. But researchers also spent decades asking a more strange question. Could that same chemical actually treat a diagnosed disease? The answer on this is it's very mixed. It runs from promising to a full-on scientific dead ends.
The problem with Spencerville is that there are no vegan girls nearby.
So get this. People with schizophrenia smoke at dramatically higher rates than the general population. One serious hypothesis is that they often have trouble focusing and that they're self-medicating a concentration problem. Smokers have also shown lower rates of Parkinson's disease. Now, these are similar brain receptors, so that got scientists excited. They tested nicotine seriously for Parkinson's, cognitive decline, ADHD, schizophrenia, depression, even Tourette's. Now, some of the early small studies and animal studies were promising, but most didn't hold up later. Scientists now think that other components in smoking, maybe the carbon monoxide, might work together in a way that they just don't yet understand. So it's not a clean sweep of failure, but drug companies are worried because it's nicotine. I mean, it still carries an addiction risk. It still has some potential cardiovascular cost. And they just don't want to be the ones selling the next nicotine tablets next to aspirin. So something's going to have to come out and show that it really works well for them to cross that Rubicon. All right, so let's look at some of the many unsettled questions. Because while it might not be the killer we thought, whether it's harmless is a separate question entirely, and that's still open. Again, people like Huberman, Attia, Asprey, they're all using small occasional doses. They're not doing regular daily high-strength pouches. There's a mechanical reason the small and occasional part matters. Sustained nicotine use increases the density of nicotinic receptors in the brain. They're what create the addictive craving for more. So a dose that worked last month stops
Do you find it hard
registering as a boost and starts being what normal requires. It's a straightforward tolerance effect, the same kind that shows up with caffeine or cannabis, just faster and stronger. So what specifically is that effect they're chasing? A 2010 meta-analysis pulled together every reliable study on nicotine's cognitive effects. It found real measurable enhancements in 6 specific areas: fine motor control, short-term memory, and above all, 2 particular kinds of attention: alerting attention, which is basically raw vigilance, and orienting attention, the ability to redirect focus onto whatever matters most right now. That's a very narrow kind of boost. There's nothing there about creativity or deep insight, but it's staying locked in and being able to direct focus during long, monotonous stretches. There are also more open questions on the individual health side. The short-term cardiovascular effects, it raises heart rate, raises blood pressure. Those are proven. But what's less settled is the long-term cardiovascular risk from nicotine alone, isolated from smoke, because that data is just thinner and newer than cancer research. There's also a newer complaint showing up in dental offices. Nicotine is a vasoconstrictor wherever it sits, and a pouch rests directly against gum tissue for extended periods. Dentists are now reporting gum recession and localized tissue damage tied into that. Again, not a large body of research, but an early pattern to be aware of. There's also questions relating to the vaping process itself. Heating any oil to vapor creates byproducts. Benzene, formaldehyde, compounds your lungs weren't built to handle. And vape pens, most have a metal coil that heats up hundreds of degrees each time you hit it, and that sheds microscopic particles of nickel, chromium, and lead into your body. What does that do to lungs over 20 years? We really don't know because the pens just haven't been around that long. But there may be hardware issues with the delivery. There is one data point that's pretty clear though, and it's around age. Nicotine exposure during pregnancy and adolescence affects brain development directly through the physical rewiring of the prefrontal cortex while it's still under construction. At that age, it alters the circuits responsible for attention and impulse control and raises the odds of lifelong addiction more than the same exposure would as an adult. That's a serious problem. And in fairness to the California ad people, teen and young adult use has been climbing. So a lot of these things don't have an answer, but that one, it actually does. All right, so how do we wrap all this up? I'd say if you're a smoker and are already addicted to nicotine, shifting to ways that won't kill you as quickly as smoking is an absolute no-brainer. Nicotine isn't the villain we were taught it was, but that just also doesn't make that a health supplement either. It's an addictive stimulant that gives some people a real but modest edge, and anyone who does it really seems like they should do it in small doses and with their eyes open about the trade-off. For me, given the unknowns and the potential for addiction, I'd think long and hard before jumping into something like that with such a minor benefit. Look, I've seen too many smokers huddled out in the cold getting a fix they thought they could once control. And speaking of things that are hard to control, how about food? I was struck by the notion that for almost all of human history, people who were poor were more likely to be underweight. I mean, that just kind of makes sense. But now, in wealthier countries, it's the exact opposite. Poverty and obesity go hand in hand. So why?
Richard, what are we listening to? Random fat ass telling you things you wanna hear about nicotine and talking about how Huberman and that butter is good, idiot, use it therefore it's good? This is some really dumb insight and a really bad video. Move on. Jasmine and Pat making out would be If Jasmine said you can have her supple Can you okay this, please?
No, thanks, Pablo.
How come your life isn't going anywhere with Pat? Why are you doing long distance dating when there's a vegan girl in your area? Don't you need some pussy when your test is over 5,000? It's some pussy you know very well. Or not because she didn't fuck you. Y'all, I think he's dreaming about Jasmine and how much Please go to sleep, buddy. You earned it.
Holy fuck. I fell asleep. Oh my god. I've never been so tired. Jesus fuck, dude. I'm gonna go to bed. Yeah, I need to go to fucking bed. Thanks, Pablo. But, I gotta, go to the fucking bank tomorrow and get the fucking stolen credit card thing dealt with, but, the plan is to train, back and biceps tomorrow, so we'll do some more back and bicep training. Filmed a vlog today too, so I should have a vlog out tomorrow, so it's like a what I eat in a day thing. And then, later we'll, you know, do the normal stream, and hopefully I don't, literally pass out again. But hope you all had fun. Big thanks to everybody who donated on stream.